Hey Baylor fans, this is your call to gear up with Harley-Davidson of Waco. Whether you're hitting the open road or tailgating at McLean Stadium, we've got the ride to match your Bear pride. Check out our wide selection of new and pre-owned motorcycles, visit our service department, or shop all the latest gear and accessories to show off your Baylor spirit and Harley pride. Visit us today and find your freedom on two wheels. Harley-Davidson of Waco, where Baylor fans never ride alone. Visit in-store or at hdwaco.com. Sic Em Bears. Coach Spavital, welcome to Baylor.
Yeah, excited to be here. Excited that this is my first appearance on here. Hopefully we can make this a consistent thing in the future, and just excited to be a part of this great university and this great community. My whole family and I have had a great transition, here to Waco, and they're enjoying it. So when your wife and kids are happy and I'm happy, life is good right now.
Good. Well, we're glad you're here. We appreciate everything you've done already and look forward to moving into this season. Let's let people get to know you a little bit more. You're an Oklahoma guy, born and raised in Tulsa, right?
Right. So it's kind of I'm a coach's kid. It started with my grandfather, who he played in the NFL, went to Oklahoma State, for his college career, was a coach, was all through the NFL ranks and the old school USFL and World Football League. Wow. And then was a head coach in the Canadian League. And they moved a lot, and my dad was following a similar path, and he was moving around a ton as well. But when you have a wife and two kids, my older brother, who is a coach as well, who's at University of Maryland, it was difficult for him to just keep moving jobs, and he just wanted to find a place and settle down and raise his family. And so he took a high school head coaching job in Oklahoma. And we were born and raised in Shawnee, Oklahoma, but born in Shawnee, raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Gotcha. And really spent our entire time there. But grew up in a locker room, loved every single second of my life. Because I didn't have any babysitters. They just threw me in the locker room, and I kind of went from there.
All right. Well, you picked up a lot along the way. I was really intrigued by your high school playing career. You had a great career in high school.
Yeah, very fortunate. Like being in this profession and recruiting high schools, you looked at the population and the enrollment of the high school that I was at, and you understand why we were so good.
Right.
I graduated, and this goes back to early 2000s, where I graduated with a little bit over 1,000 kids in my class. Wow. And had a lot of Division I players and kids that went on to play in the NFL, and I was the quarterback, and my dad is a defensive-minded guy and is a defensive coach, and he pretty much told me to not screw it up, and make sure that I was taking care of the football, and we played good defense, and we had good weapons, and I just did a very good job at managing everything. But only lost one game in my career, which was the last one. Wow. But I give the credit to really everybody else around me, because it's a really good setup at Tulsa Union High School.
Yeah, all-state quarterback, 26-1 record, one state championship in there.
Yeah. Again, very fortunate to be around it. But a lot of it too, I had some great coaches. Our head coach was Bill Blankenship, who went on to be the head coach at the University of Tulsa. Yeah. And then just having my dad there and just being, my dad's now going to probably be into the High School Hall of Fame there, and just to be around good leadership and just around a great community, you're set up for good success. It's one of the reasons why I chose Baylor too, by the way, just because of the community and the setup and the resources and the support and the leadership. There's a common theme with that. If you find successful, programs, there's going to be a lot of people around the community and the current coaches and players that do a lot for that area.
How highly were you recruited? What was that process like coming out of high school?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Again, coach's kid, right? Yeah. So I always had the dreams of playing Power 5 football. That was what I wanted to go to. Whole family went to Oklahoma State. I just wanted to play at that level, and. I was, a good 6 foot probably at the time. I wasn't the biggest, wasn't the fastest. Right. I just was, I was smart in terms of just what I needed to get accomplished and where the ball needed to go. And it got to a point where, you have such a transparent dad, where he was just you need to look at these smaller schools, And I really looked into just kind of the FCS schools. I had a few FCS offers, and I ended up settling at Southwest Missouri State, which is now Missouri State. But you know, it was perfect for me. Like I got around a lot of great coaches, and got to learn a lot of football, which actually kind of made me fall in love more with the game, which escalated me into the coaching career, which my parents told me not to get into. But you know, now. You know, you look at it about 20 years ago, now I'm sitting here at Baylor talking with you, still in the profession.
How about that? Sort of in your DNA to go into coaching, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. You know, again, like my mom and dad like tried to have my brother and I be very well-rounded and like try to look into other things with more security.
Yeah.
And you look at it now, you grow up wanting to be like your father, and I'm sitting here, you know, 20 years later, you know, like still in the profession, and same thing with my brother Zach at Maryland.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned your dad so many times already. It's obvious you learned a lot from him. You have so much respect for him and his impact on your life and your coaching career. Yeah,
my dad, you know, he's the guy that kind of put like my brother and I in this place. Like what I laugh at now is all the discipline that he instilled into us, and just how you handle situations and adversity, and how you just got to keep working and being there. Well, now you have grandkids involved. I have a 6 and 7-year-old. My brother has a 12 and a 9-year-old, and everything that he stood for with us and the discipline and all that is completely out the door right now with grandkids. You know, and it's the it's the funniest thing in the world to me right now. But you know, he's been such an influence on so many people, and that's the reason why I got into this profession, because I want to be like him.
Wow, that's great. So what was the path when you decided you wanted to go into coaching after your college playing career ended?
Yeah, so I was a student assisting my final semester at Missouri State, and the previous year I put my resume out to a lot of different schools to see if there was anything that was gonna hit, you know, and at the end of the day, I had a guy named Gus Malzahn that said that he'd love to take me at University of Tulsa because it's just kind of my roots and everything from there. And I knew that Gus was going to be a hot commodity, which, you know, he is obviously now. And I just wanted to learn football and just be around good people. And so I didn't even, I changed my degree program. I was going to have a finance degree, but I changed it to get a general business degree, graduated a little bit quicker than what I should have. And went straight to work at University of Tulsa. Didn't even walk at graduation, went straight into work. You know?
You were already working.
My parents thought they had me for a minute where I was going to get into probably the business world of some sort, but you know, now I'm back into it right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Baylor fans, this is your call to gear up with Harley-Davidson of Waco. Whether you're hitting the open road or tailgating at McLean Stadium, we've got the ride to match your Bear pride. Check out our wide selection of new and pre-owned motorcycles, visit our service department, or shop all the latest gear and accessories to show off your Baylor spirit and Harley pride. Visit us today and find your freedom on 2 wheels. Harley-Davidson of Waco, where Baylor fans never ride alone. Visit in-store or at hdwaco.com. Sic Em Bears.
All right, so from Tulsa with Gus Malzahn, that's got to be a pretty good introduction, right?
It was.
Coaching with him, learning from him.
Yeah, it was all about spread, up-tempo, power run game, and vertical shots down the field. And, you know, I got a little bit of a taste of that on my last years at Missouri State with a guy named Rob Christoffel. He's now the offense coordinator at Nicholls State. And, but he was spread, air raid, you know, tempo, and I love the tempo element of it all. Mm-hmm. And then Gus opened me up to kind of just like the power run game that you can do that, you know, at a fast pace. And there wasn't very many teams running tempo at this time, you know, and back in like really that 2008, there was the trees, you know, that were messing with it. But that was where I learned a ton with Gus, and we ended up being one of the top offenses in the country. And he ended up taking the Auburn offensive coordinator job the next year, which led me to some decisions where I needed to go next.
Yeah. So from there, was it Oklahoma State next after Tulsa?
I went to University of Houston.
Houston.
And that was where my career really took off.
Yeah.
You know, I had an opportunity to go to Auburn with Gus, but I know in this profession it's about networking and just being around a lot of people. And my brother was at University of Houston as a defensive backs coach, and he told me that you need to come and learn from this guy named Dana Holgerson and live with Cliff Kingsbury. And you know, you looked at it now, like all three of us have been head coaches at some point, you know, and we were just trying to get a first down, but, you know, it led to so much more because we were playing with tempo for the first time in the air raid system because Dana just came from Texas Tech with Mike Leach, which they were air raid, but it's not with the tempo element. And we started playing fast, at Houston. We had Case Keenum, and he ended up throwing for, I think it was like 5,700 yards that year, and we had 3,000-yard receivers, and it was fun. It was a blast, and we were the number one offense in the country, and that just led for more opportunities from there.
How about that? So that's the air raid. We hear about it now. That was not the beginning of it, but like Houston was one of the first teams running it that way with tempo.
Right. Yeah, and it just opened me up with coming from a power run tempo team to a spread air raid tempo team.
Right.
And I thought, just over the few years, just being with Dana Holgerson, we ended up mixing and matching all sorts of stuff, And Dana always makes the joke that we got kicked out of the air raid system because we like to run the ball a little bit more than them. But but it all comes from the same tree of some nature. It's just kind of you look at college football now, everybody runs the same plays to a certain extent. I think it's the demeanor and the intention of how you run those plays now, and that's where that tempo is so good.
Would you say that kind of stuck, or that's sort of your philosophy now, is spread, air raid, but with a run game also?
Yes,
and
it's
tempo.
kind of a mix of all those, of just the Gus Malzahn and Dana. I learned how to coach quarterbacks through Cliff Kingsbury, and once you implement a quarterback-friendly system, and being able to play at a fast pace, I think that's one of the best stuff that you can do, especially from a college standpoint. Mm-hmm. This is the first time they played at this high of a level, and they're going to make a ton of mistakes. Mm-hmm. So I've always believed that the more times you can snap it, if you do make a mistake, you're going to try to snap it, 12 to 15 times more than what another normal team does. That gives you more opportunities to overcome that. Good. And it's different when you get to the NFL, where Cliff has been implementing that into the NFL now, where there's a lot of veteran guys that don't want to play. They don't know how many more snaps they got left, and they don't want to be playing, 90 snaps a game. They want to be around the 65 to 70, where if I can snap it around 85 times a game, I feel like that we're doing a good job with the tempo and dictating the pace of play.
You mentioned some of the quarterbacks you've worked with. You've been with some really good ones. You've helped some really good quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's, and I learned that from, really Cliff and how he handled Case Keenum, and just being in that room with Case and then being able to, just watch him operate and being able to help coach at times with him. And Case, is on his 13th year with the Houston Texans right now, which is just fun to watch. But, you're only as good as the players, and when you get a quarterback, and I think, Baylor's seen some great quarterbacks come through here, it makes life a lot easier when you got those guys. And I've just been very fortunate, just being at Texas A&M and West Virginia and Cal with a lot of quality players. And, when I think it's I've coached 10 NFL QBs, and a lot of them are still active right now, and it's just fun to watch them in their career just keep going, because it shows you that, we've been a part of something pretty special at one point.
One of those, Geno Smith at West Virginia. There was a memorable Baylor-West Virginia game you were a part of, right? 2012.
Yeah, I ran into Nick Florence the other day, and we talk about it all the time, about just how it kind of was like defense wasn't even on the field at that point, right. And, I've been a head coach now, and I understand, at some point, you may need to slow it down a little bit and help them out. But like where we were at with two high-powered offenses of West Virginia and Baylor, it was just a complete shootout, and I think that's one of the most memorable games of my career, because I was on the offensive side. Right. It's not very memorable for the defensive coaches, but it just shows you just what this offense is capable of, because both of these systems at that time were very, very similar.
Yeah. Robert Griffin won the Heisman here in 2011. You were with the Heisman winner the next year at Texas A&M.
Yeah. And again, it goes down to the quarterback play, and I know the Baylor has seen a Heisman Trophy winner and how special that is, and just to be around guys like Johnny Manziel and even, recruit and coach Kyler Murray for a year, you just see how they're able to take a game over and how important they are. And like I said, it makes calling plays a lot eeasier, when you got a guy like that, especially like RG3 and Johnny with their running ability. I think that's kind of separates, I don't think anybody saw that type of style of quarterback play that consistent at that time. And that's one of the reasons why they won the Heisman.
Yeah. You got opportunity to be the head coach at Texas State, and your brother Zach, you mentioned him. You guys were on staff together. What was that like?
Oh, it was unbelievable. Like I loved every single second of it. We took over a program that, I had one off the field person when I got there. Again, then you come to Baylor, and I feel like we had one.
Wow.
Yeah, and just the salaries of the assistant coaches were very minimal, and we knew that we had a lot of work to do. And when you have somebody that, like, you at least are very familiar with, especially Blood at this point, where if I had to go handle head coaching, issues or just deal with the offense, I knew I had a guy that had my back, and that was, working, and through recruiting and through just the defensive side of things, or just also just as a kind of an acting head coach too, if I had to step away, because we were all in it together, and I knew that he had my best interest.
Very good. What'd you learn from that head coaching experience that's paid off for you?
Yeah, you learn a ton. I learned a lot about just staff management and just how things operate and what's important and what to pick and choose your battles. I was really adamant about starting a nutrition program at the school, which I did, and admissions requirements, and just trying to do everything I could for the players. That was important to me, because if you could show them that you were fighting for them, that they're going to fight for you. And but probably the most important thing I've learned is patience. The younger me wanted immediate results, but when you really have to peel the layers back of a program and start from scratch and dealing with everything from scheduling to just the daily operation to whatever it is, you can't do it all at once, and you need to not be able. You don't need to micromanage. You need to trust the people that you hire. You need to make sure that you're going in the direction that you envision, and you got to be patient. And you show up every day and just keep working.
Back out to Cal last year, kind of tough situation there, wasn't it? In the Pac-12, and Pac-12 is kind of in disarray at that point, wasn't it? What was that like?
Yeah, interesting. I got let go of Texas State. I had a lot of opportunities to go different places and be a coordinator again. And my wife and I were currently out there in 2016, and we were just familiar with the area. It was an easy transition for me, in terms of I still had my same parking spot. All my cut-ups were on the computer, so I could hit it running. That's funny. The second I got there. But you sit there and you look at college football and just like all the uncharted waters that we're dealing with from just transfer portal and NIL and everything of that nature. But when you got to the conference realignment, and it was roughly around this time in early August, early August, late July, I can't remember exactly. They told us that, really, I think it was like 10 teams left, the Big Ten and the Big 12, and there was 4 teams that were looking for a conference for the next year. So there's a lot of unknown. Recruiting was very difficult at the time, and just again having that head coaching experience, it's just you just got to take it one day at a time and just see what happens, and worry about what we can control currently. And luckily, we ended up entering the ACC, which I think is a very interesting spot for them as well. Right. I think I read a deal the other day that said the amount of travel that University of California has to do this year is almost like the entire circumference of the world.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, that just kind of puts in play of how much travel it is. But they did end up in a conference, and who knows where it goes from there. But it was very unknown at that point, and that's kind of led me to making part of my decision to come to Baylor. Yeah.
What was it? What were the initial contacts like with Coach Aranda or with Baylor, and what led you here?
Yeah, the season ended, and it's late November, and I was getting, Coach Aranda reached out to me, and I wasn't I'm to this point where I've moved so much, that I have my kids in a decent spot, but you start weighing the factors of everything, of just the security of the conference. I believe in Coach Aranda. I've gone up against him a lot, and I know he's a great coach, and we talked about just kind of direction, and just what you see the offense looking like, and how we're going to go with that, and how he's going to take the defense back over and start calling the plays again, and that intrigued me a ton. So I talked with my wife about it. My kids are 6, they're 5 and 6 at the time. They're 6 and 7 now, but I'm getting to the point now where my daughter's going to start getting upset with me a little bit because I'm moving them so much. So they're fired up for this entire move, and just to kind of get back closer to family, because being from Oklahoma in this area, it's been great for all of us to do this. This is the first time I've ever done a lateral move in my life in terms of coordinator to coordinator position. It was tough because we flipped that offense at Cal, and I think they're going to be extremely good this year. And like just the whole thought of doing it all over again, starting with the installs, it's just new setup, new everything. But my kids were fired up and excited, and ever since I've been here, this community's been so welcoming for my family. And my kids are in such a great spot. My wife is too, and I'm just this makes me happy and makes me want to work even harder for this place.
That's great. Well, again, we're glad you're here. Glad you made the move. Was part of your decision, or was this even in your thought process? Coach Aranda's going to take on more with the defense, be more hands-on with the defense. So this is your offense. I mean, he's kind of handing the offense over you.
Yeah, and that's what he said to me. He was like, "This is you're going to be the head coach of the offense." I know what he's going through. I know all the things that he has to deal with on a daily basis, and I just try to be just being in that role. I just want to be an assistant coach that doesn't have any issues with things coming across his desk. I try to handle as many issues as I can before it gets to him. And I know what type of person he is, and there's a lot of people that I've been around and grown up in this profession that know him very well too, and they speak the world of him. And it's been such an easy transition, but just to work for him and like what the game of football means to him, it's going to be great to just let me compliment him as much as I possibly can.
A lot of changes on the offensive staff coming in. I think Dallas Baker's the only one left that was here last year on the offensive side. How have you guys all meshed together so far?
Yeah, and I've known all these guys for over the years, but it's been great. There's a lot of great experience in there and a lot of professionalism as well. Because you look at Jared Anderson, for instance, all right, he's been at TCU for roughly 25 years, and he's coached every single position. He's coordinated, and being an O-line coach, or a quarterback's coach, a receiver coach, a running back coach, a tight ends coach, and coordinating, he knows what it's about, and he's an unbelievable recruiter. He understands how things work, and he is an unbelievable person to be around, and the same thing with Mason Miller. I've known him forever, and then he was Mike Leach's O-line coach for the longest time. He's been a head coach before at McMurray, and he's a proven guy. And I love watching the experience of those two, just how they adapt and they operate, and when they need to keep their mouth shut and when they need to speak up, and while and picking and choosing your battles because they've been in it so long. And you forget about Keenan Hall has been crushing it in recruiting, and he is a really good ball coach, and he's one of my favorite guys to be around. Just the energy he brings and who he is as a person and what he stands for and his path to get to where he's at. He's a great man, and he's a great mentor, and you just look at those guys right there, they're pretty solid people, and then Dallas has been great, and Dallas has been kind of showing us the ropes on how things work around here, and I've got great analysts as well. I got a guy named Rhett Holcomb and Weston Glauser. Those guys have been doing such a great job for me in general, and just all of us, on just letting us know about the community here and how things work and how Coach Aranda thinks, so I don't have to be bothering them all the time. But also with, you have Craig Watts and CJ Germany in there and Joe DeRazio as well. We got a really good group, a lot of people in there that are all working well together, and it's been extremely fun for me. Everybody talks about egos, and every place has egos, but the way we are is we mesh very well with each other and know how to play off of each other and know our strengths and our deficiencies as well.
Yeah, boy, that's good to hear. How'd you feel about the spring, installing your new offense? Pretty dramatic change from what we'd done previously. How'd you feel like the spring went?
Yeah, so I've done this a few times, moving into a new situation in spring, and especially with a new staff, I kept the installs extremely base. Okay. And I didn't motion at all. I didn't really stack much or bunch and do any of that. I wanted to see what our personnel was about. Can they win one-on-one? When they get in those moments. Wanted to see how the running backs O-line work, together, and just kind of see who's going to get the tough yardage. And, I wasn't trying to scheme or do any game planning type stuff. I just want to see what we're capable of doing. And we learned a ton of who we are in the spring. And that allowed for the summer, because in today's time, like, what people don't understand is the summer is really where it cranks up. Right. Because at the time, I didn't know how many additions that we were going to have in summer. After the spring semester, you had the transfer portal window. We didn't lose really anybody, which was a good thing for us. But you can't just put everything in and then redo it again in the summertime. Right. So I was very generic base, learn how to play the game with the tempo. I think that's the element that you're going to hear me talk about a lot. They weren't a tempo team last year, and I think about practice like 7-8 of spring ball, they finally figured out, like, okay, we understand how this works and how tough it is. But, like, you got to be in shape, and you get worn out pretty quickly with it. But it was all about just intention and demeanor of how, like, we play the game and do our base stuff, and for our coaching staff to kind of figure out who we are. And then the summertime has been great. Like, the installs have gone. I've probably added in about another 75 plays in the summertime. And so we've got it all in. We know how to play, and we know how to communicate. We know the signaling process of it all. We got the helmet to coach communication now. We know really how everything works. It's time for them to go execute now in fall camp. Nice.
I was with Coach Aranda. We did a Texas tour around several spots, stops in Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. One thing he talked about was the VR, the virtual reality, now with the quarterbacks and maybe some other guys too. That seems like it's a huge plus.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's only 2 college teams that have it, and I think there's only about 5-6 teams in the NFL that have it. Like, it's based out of Germany, and they keep it in a very they don't want a lot right now because they want quality, but it is absolutely amazing to me. It's like you're playing the college football game, the college football live, and it's but it's your playbook, and you can sit there and you can click on a concept, and I can do it versus cover 1, 2, 3. I can zone pressure them. I can tell the second read to slip and fall, and like all it does is it reads your eyeball the entire time.
Wow!
And Jaden Daniels did this at LSU last year, and my buddy Cliff Kingsbury has it at the Commanders, and he's using it. And what it is it'll tell you if the quarterback's eyes are in the wrong spot.
Huh. Wow.
So I love that because you've never had that element. Yeah. So now it'll tell you that he's hanging on the front side progression too long. He needs to get on to the next one, so you can speed up the level of the play and make it faster, so it can train them like what the progression should look like and the timing of it all.
That's amazing.
It's way too far advanced. But,
right.
I put it on. I feel like I can give it a shot again.
Have you tried it? Have you put them on?
It's fun now.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
But you can sit in a chair and do it, or you could actually get out and onto the field and actually do drops, because the defensive line and the offensive line actually start setting back into you, so you need to take a drop so you can have better vision. It's crazy.
That is so cool.
The one I thought was interesting is that they have every away stadium, and obviously our home stadium, and it's identical to it. So we're playing Utah week 2, so our kids can do the whole game plan in the Utah stadium. They know where our sideline is. They know where the 40-second clocks are. They know where it all is. So it's pretty crazy.
That is wild. That's a real plus, it seems like.
It is.
So as we record this, you're about to start fall camp. When you hit the ground, with fall camp, first practice, what are some of the priorities that you want to get going with right as you start?
Yeah, there's a couple things I'm adding in with the tempo of plays, and really from what they've done in the summertime, they should know pretty much everything. All right, and it's probably the biggest install I've ever done before, just because they've been repping this stuff all June and July, and they're kind of getting bored with it. So individual drills and all that stuff will be specialized to certain things, but when we get to the team settings and the 7-on-7 settings, it's going to be a mixture of everything. And I think the more tape that we can get, the more meetings that we can have, the more just reps in general is going to help these guys out. So, but that's just my kind of philosophy on it right now. But we've got to figure out, who our guys are going to be and who we're going to count on. Yep. We've been really good and fair with everybody, and now the competition is going to increase, and we're going to set the tone in our meetings on Wednesday, the day before we report on. We start on August 1st, and we're going to make sure that we understand the expectations and what's at stake right now, and And I think these guys are ready to go and compete right now.
Man, it's an exciting time of the year, isn't it?
I know. I love this time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, we still got a lot of work to go, but
Right.
it's here, and it's ball from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. every single day.
Right.
So it's time to figure it out.
Well, we need to let you get back to work, but we do appreciate the visit. And again, we're glad you're here, part of the Baylor staff, and we're excited about the season. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and look forward to this year.